Hello, Miramar. I'm Commissioner Alexandra P. Davis, and welcome to another edition of Commission Corner. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, this is an opportunity for me to connect with you, the residents, keeping you informed about what's going on throughout the community. As always, I can be reached by phone, email, or social media, which can be seen on the screen below. Now we have an exciting segment today, as I have a few interesting guests joining me on the couch. All right, so today we have Islamic members of our community, Imam Pete and Sheikh Shafayet. They are joining me today to teach us a little bit about this holy month of Ramadan. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm thrilled to have you both.
It's our pleasure. It's a blessing to be here.
Excellent. So I'll start with Imam Pete. Tell us a bit about your background and where you're from.
Well, yeah, I wanted to surprise you that I'm actually from Jamaica. Came to the States when I was about 4 years old. Actually grew up in Hallandale.
Nice.
Hallandale. I went to Hallandale Elementary. Then after elementary school, moved to Fort Lauderdale, where did middle school, high school, college at University of Florida. Then after graduating UF, got the opportunity to study more overseas, specifically Islamic studies and Arabic language.
Yeah. Lovely.
Quite experience, yeah.
Oh, great. So great to hear about your background and to think that you're Jamaican with, in the Islamic communities is wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, Sheikh Shafayet, yourself?
Well, I will have to say I'm his neighbor, and we're all neighbors. Yeah. And this is a community, Miramar, city of people of that neighborhood sort of atmosphere. So first I want to say thank you very much for
you're welcome.
Inviting us to be part of the show. This is so phenomenal that you can do something like this from the city and with the blessings of Miramar City for the month of Ramadan. So I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, that's the other city.
All the Caribbean. Yeah.
We're representing here.
Yes, very strong. So I grew up sort of very Christian background in the Caribbean. You know, that's what it is like in Trinidad and the Caribbean mostly. Then, God guided me and I ended up going to study Islam. I had a scholarship to be a pastor or priest when I was studying because I studied in a Roman Catholic school in the Caribbean, Trinidad. And however, I ended up in India studying Islam in one of the oldest and largest Islamic university in Indo-Pak, Bangladesh sort of thing. It's about 200 years old.
Wow.
And there's where I studied and became an Islamic scholar by profession. So it's a pleasure to be here and share with you this month of Ramadan and with my friend here, Imam Pete.
Wonderful. I guess we should have you back for Caribbean Heritage Month too.
Yes,
while we're at it, right?
We will have to do
that. Excellent to hear about your background, both of you. And so I guess I'll start with you, Sheikh. Please explain to those who may not know, what is Ramadan and how is it observed?
So generally, Ramadan, a lot of people think that Ramadan is a month of only fasting. When you hear Ramadan, you think fasting. But Ramadan is the name of the month. It's the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, which is a lunar calendar, like the Jewish calendar. So it's the 9th month. But in this month, a lot of spiritual things happen. You know, we believe that the Quran, the revelation began in this month of Ramadan. We got a special holy night, which is called the Night of Power, where people keep awake all night and do atonement and forgiveness and pray and thank God, the full 9 yards. So Ramadan, why I'm saying this, Ramadan is not just a month for fasting, because Ramadan comes from an Arabic word meaning Ramadah, to scorch, to burn out. So it's an opportunity for atonement, for forgiveness, for mercy. So hence, in this month of Ramadan, is the 4th pillar of Islam, fasting. So God chose the best month for us to fast. So a lot of fasting, a lot of reading the Quran, a lot of charity, a lot of praying, a lot of festivals. And when I say festival, bringing people together to have the breaking of the fast. So the communities come together. I mean, Miramar City has been blessed to host something like that. and a couple other cities in America. So the month is a month that you can do everything good under the sky. As we would say.
Wow. I like that. I like that explanation. Anything you want to add, Imam?
Yeah, so, you know, a particular song, a lyric from a song that I haven't heard in a long time, but used to listen to it a lot growing up, by a artist called Garnet Silk. There's a particular verse. What he's referring to, he's talking about that people, they have the material necessities, they have the food, the drink, house over their heads, but they're still hungry. They're missing something. So this is the theme in Ramadan, that the human being is more than just a material object, or just that the human being, he or she needs more than just food and drink. Right? We need more than just the physical things. We need spiritual things. We need spiritual nourishment. So this month of Ramadan is to remind us of that we need something else. It's not just about the physical things, the food, the drink. Well, that's okay, but you also need spiritual nourishment. You also need to connect to the scripture. You need to connect to God and connect to that aspect of yourself. So this is what Ramadan is about, and having self-restraint as well is also very much a part of the month. Self-restraint in terms of avoiding food, but also avoiding other things that are offensive to God, and also seeing past ourselves and fully connecting to the community.
Wow.
So charity is also a very important part of Ramadan. Yeah.
So as the Imam said that, I got another point to share. In the fasting, one of the logistics, now God has in his wisdom, Prophet Moses fasted, Jesus, peace be upon him, fasted. So one of the logistics in fasting is that when you feel that weakness, you're hungry, you didn't eat from sunrise, from dawn to sunset, your body sort of gets a little weaker. So when a person's body is much weaker, you tend to ponder a little more, be more God conscious, think how the poor thinks. You have a different sort of feelings inside of you. When a person's stomach is filled, they're like a wild beast.
That's true.
You see what happens?
Yeah, we tend
but when,
to be
when you're hungry and you're weak, you get humble. You feel like how the poor man feels out there.
Right.
The hungry child feels out there.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the God-gifted strategy that in this month we fast. So with that sort of physical weakness, it brings that God-conscious feelings to worship God and to care for other people.
Excellent. I love that. Well, and as you have titles, both of you, and many of our residents and friends and people watching may not know what they mean. So you are Imam and you are Sheikh. What does that mean?
So sometimes it's used interchangeably. Generally, an Imam will be a leader of the community, one who leads the prayer, also will give the sermon. So this is what the Imam, so leader, this is what that means. The Sheikh, it's also a person who will lead the prayer, but it's a person who has more seniority in the community, like Sheikh Shafayat.
So that's you.
Yeah.
Well, he already answered it, so I don't need to say anything.
But basically, we understand more about both your roles. And I know the Muslim culture, it's a huge culture around the world. It may be, I don't know if it's even more so than Christianity. It could be. But why do you think it's important for folks to understand, especially in the Western world here, about the Muslim culture? I'll start with you, Imam.
I think that I'm big on heritage, our roots, getting back to our roots. And a part of American roots is Islam. It was here since the beginning. No doubt under through means that we object to now, through the African slave trade. But the fact is that there were African Muslims who were brought to these shores. They were here since the beginning. And that beginning, has a narrative throughout the beginning of American history, all the way through Civil War, all the way through to, after the Civil War with the, Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, also, who plays a person who plays a role in that is also Marcus Garvey, not a Muslim, but he plays a role. Islam and that movement, they play a role in really bringing about social justice. So Islam is really here from the beginning, and we do ourselves a disservice not to pay attention to that heritage, because that represents who we are. Even if you're not a Muslim, that's a part of,
the
your history. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anything to add to that?
Well, wonderful example and reality of its origin here in America. And when you look back at some of the misconception, and that's a wonderful question you asked there, a lot of people think Islam is just like a religion that was born or innovated by some people. But in all reality, Islam has been there. Islam, we consider Islam as the religion of Jesus, peace be upon him, the religion of Moses, peace be upon him, the religion of Abraham. Why? Because the Bible, the Torah, the Psalms speak about Moses, Jesus, Abraham, peace be upon them all, that they all invited people to the submission of God. And Islam means submission to God. We talk about Islam meaning peace, but that's one aspect of it, because when you are in submission to God, it's all about peace. You should only be peaceful. Hence, a Muslim is one who submits to God. So Muslim is an Arabic word, and in the Quran, we refer to Jesus, Moses, Abraham, all these prophets as Muslims, because they all were in total submission to God. So Islam is a way of life that is not just similar to Judaism and Christianity, but we say Islam, Judaism and Christianity got the same roots, the same origin. Worship God, submission to God, and that's what it is all about. And as the Imam said, a lot of people don't realize that people all over the world, as they came from the East, the Middle East, all over Africa, all over, and they went to different parts of the world, they went with that Islamic heritage. But people didn't know that, and a lot of people don't know that. Hence, in recent times, people like Islam is this new religion, Muslims are a new people. That's because we don't know the history of Islam.
Absolutely. And we're so glad that you're here to give us that.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're aware of that. I know you touched on the Iftar dinner, and the city annually has an Iftar dinner. We did that just recently. How significant is that? That's basically the breaking of the fast, correct? You want to explain a little bit about that, Mr. Imam?
Yeah, so the iftar is really when the Muslims, we sit down to, well, ideally, of course, sometimes we're hungry or sometimes people be sleeping at that time because, they're so tired. But ideally, in principle, the time of iftar is a time of not only breaking the fast, but a time for reflection, a time for, okay, how did the day go? A time for giving, a time for pause right before the fast, and you can say a prayer. And this is one of the, right there at the end of the fast is really when the person who is fasting is really nearest to God. You really feel the pain of the heaviness of the fast and maybe a bit tired and thirsty. This is the time when you're really, really close to God, we believe. So it's a time for reflection right before the fast. And then at the time of the iftar, we believe that this is a blessing from God, that you enjoy and partake in the blessing, and you break the fast upon something which is usually like a date, or you take some sort of fruit, something that's good to get the blood sugar back in. And also then after that you say a prayer, which can be something short, like, praise God, give thanks, something like this. So this
Excellent.
is the iftar.
Well, we enjoy that every year here in the city of Miramar, and I know we have it all over, actually, Broward County. I'm actually going to one towards the end of the month as well. But in closing, and I have this question for you, Sheikh. Recently, the Broward School Board gave students and staff a day off to mark a Muslim holiday in the school year 2022 to 23. How do you feel about this recognition?
I think that is very commendable, and it is a great sign to see that, we live in this part of the world, and there are so many Muslims in America, I mean, people are so well aware of Muslims in America, and the students really needed that. They really needed that opportunity to be able to go to the feast, the end of Ramadan, and join in this big celebration, which is more or less the largest celebration commemorated in the Muslim world. And by our children and students not being part of it, it is depriving them. It is really depriving them. Plus, it's very educational for the non-Muslim students to also know that this event, like Yom Kippur, they hear about Christmas, they hear about Easter, they hear for all these other holy days.
Right.
And I mean, a big population like Muslims in the world, and you mentioned that a little while ago, Muslims are the second largest population in the world. And when it comes to a practical aspect, practicality, from a name point of view, Christianity is the largest. From a practical point of view, Muslims are the largest. And you go check all the statistics, that's Christian statistics, not mine. So something like that, it is really commendable that Broward County made that decision. It shows that sort of integration and community working together.
Absolutely.
And may God continue to bless our leaders, man. It's people like you who make these things happen. And may God continue to guide all of you guys in this sort of leadership that you could do these things for the community.
Yeah, inclusivity is very, very important. Any last words, Imam?
Yeah, I guess just following up with what the Sheikh said, definitely it's a really beautiful and commendable thing, with, as it concerns Muslims in America, I think like two things are really happening. One, I think this is a part of Muslims really, I guess, really fully integrating into America. Because up until maybe, I don't know, for the longest time, Muslims have often discussed, okay, can I be American? Can I be Muslim? And I mean, if you're here in America, you're eating cheeseburgers, you're eating pizza, you're American, right? So it's kind of a moot point. But I think with this, with the holiday, it kind of cements that identity. And also it's a sign of, Muslims being fully accepted in society. So, these two things are really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see some of my students, former students who are, part of the association in their school, the Islamic Association. And they've really led the charge as well with Broward County School Board, and we really appreciate that coming to fruition.
Yes.
During our lifetime, of course. So thank you once again. We've learned so much from you, and we hope to have you back again. And as we recognize Holy Ramadan.
Thank you very much for having us, and I think this is a wonderful move you've made, and I wish all the other commissioners in the other cities can do this and let the whole world know and all the counties.
Absolutely.
God bless. Thank you very much.
God bless you. Well, hello to Chief Burgess and Chief Perez. Welcome to Commission Corner. And so both of you have been newly sworn in as chiefs. And again, we want to introduce you to our community. I have a few questions for you. And we'll start with our police chief, Leonard Burgess. Please explain your role as chief of the Miramar Police Department and your journey to get to this position.
Absolutely. Well, Commissioner, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. It's always about communications and getting this information out. So thank you through the commission, through you on the Commissioner Corner. So now, I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Police Department of City of Miramar. Direct oversight over the administration, budget, investigations, compliance division, and even more importantly, our community resource unit officers along the way that are out there in our SWAT team. So in tactical operations as well. That is my direct oversight regarding as the Chief of Police of Miramar. My journey to get here, 37 years ago. Had an opportunity, I was in the Marine Corps. I came out, I was born right here actually, in South Florida, over here at Miami-Dade County, and then eventually went through school, college degrees were all here from FIU and Barry. But then I joined the Marine Corps, and then I came back and I said, a firefighter or a police officer? And truly being, it way where my father was a military police officer in the United States Marine Corps. That was an easy case considering I thought they were the few, the proud, and the uniform, and I still wear the uniform today. So I made that choice and embarked on that journey back in '84 with the city of North Miami. I stayed there about 4 years, and then I lateraled over to the Miami-Dade Police Department. I stayed there for 22 years and left there as the chief over special investigations. Had an opportunity at that point to go over to Miami-Dade County Corrections and Rehabilitation. I was the interim director there for about 2 years, and then eventually became the deputy director. I said, okay, that's 22 here, add 27, maybe I need to go ahead and take a break. But no, I still wanted an opportunity to become a chief of police of an organization, whether it's Miami-Dade and Broward. That opportunity presented itself. So sure enough, North Miami called me back in 2010, went back there as a major in investigation, became the assistant chief, and then eventually was the chief of police there. I stayed there to 2010. Great opportunities from Miami-Dade, just knowing, and North Miami knowing, and then eventually before I talk about City of Miramar, it's just that socially, economic, diverse community. It just gave me a lot of, I was really equipped to deal or address or any concerns dealing with the various type of cultures that I had experienced. So sure enough, had an opportunity here in 2016, came here as the assistant chief. Been here for 5 years, interim for about a year. February 14th, Valentine's Day, I finally got that appointment, to myself as a Valentine gift. Thank you, Lord God, wifey as well, and became the chief here. And that was my journey over the 37 years, and I just thank everyone that's been there that supported me along the ways, and particularly the community.
Excellent story, and it's so great that you're homegrown and you're now doing your thing right here in the city of Miramar. Welcome to have you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And over to our fire chief, Chief Perez. Same question. Explain your role as the Miramar Fire Chief and the journey it took you to get here.
Well, first and foremost, I want to also thank you for having us here and giving us the opportunity to let the community know a little bit about us, and so they know the kind of leadership that they have in the city, and what we're looking forward to doing for our residents and our business stakeholders. I'm pretty much kind of ditto the chief's format. I'm also a 37-year veteran of the fire service. I never thought about going into the police department. It was always fire for me from the very beginning. Back in the day, going to the police department wasn't, for someone of my ethnic group, wasn't something that was seen as a possibility. So fire was the first to open their doors to us, and I jumped on board and tried to do everything in my power to be an example and a role model for kids, that look like me and speak like me and have the accent. I came to the United States when I was 13 years old. So I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here, but this country gave us a great opportunity, and we've done everything in our power to been role models for that. So 37-year career, I've rose through the ranks. One of the most important things that my parents instilled in me was education. So from the very beginning, every opportunity to educate myself, I took. Every opportunity to become a member of a specialty team, I did that. So I have a lot of experience in the fire service, pretty much in every aspect of hazards mitigation. Firefighting, emergency response, medical care, done everything. I got a nursing degree in the process. I have a bunch of degrees that I've kind of gained through it. Kind of too many to list. Sometimes I even forget some of them. But I've never stopped learning. One of the things that I've done is I continue and I push everyone under my command to do the same thing. I open that up. I want all the members of our fire department to get educated, to seek higher ground when it comes to knowledge. And that is a great thing to have, especially when we're serving our community. We're able to go out there, we're able to provide that kind of service and give something back to the folks that allow us to serve them. So for us, it's a great honor to do that.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for sharing with us your background and how you got to where you are today. So back to our police chief. What type of safety changes or enhancements can the residents expect to see under your leadership?
I'd like to share some of the priority ones at this present time and moment. And it changes year to year, dealing with exactly what is the challenge that year. The previous years, there was a lot of property crimes concerns. This year here, we are really concerned when it comes down to any violent crimes. Some of the changes that we have made is technology. Thank you. The 2 or 3 years of our body-worn camera program, I'd like to talk about that a little bit more, but I think we may have an opportunity a bit more to expound on it further. I'll talk a little bit as well as about the ShotSpotter technology. Thank you and the commission and and the citizens for supporting and voting us on that as well, on some of the technology that has allowed us to police officer safety, but also allowing us to respond in a safety aspect, knowing before we show up on that scene what are we dealing with, as well as what are the resources we need to address and possibly even apprehend. But what's really important to me and myself and over my 37 years and working like my good friend here, mi amigo, in public safety, and like my mom's from Panama too, I forgot to mention that, habla español. So, but as well, is community engagement. If anything I learned over those 37 years in 3 different communities is community engagement. They can make you, they can break you, but in this case here, they also can protect you. That community engagement piece has allowed us to expand our community resource unit. And what we're doing right now is putting as many campaigns, as many events, somewhere to community and cops as well, that Mr. Perez, our chief, both of us working together, we have installed, should I say, or really initiated our public safety meet and greets. We had about 4 or 5, a little smaller scale, but it's us going out there, police, firefighters together, public safety coming together, showing all the informational campaign for crime prevention, but at the same time, you get a chance to touch a firefighter, a police officer, engage in them in a positive aspect. The benefits of that are the parents, are the teachers, are the educators, are the community leaders, and now they see they have a connection with an agency that you can trust, that you can have transparency, and if anything, mutual respect on the long term. So those are some of the more important ones right now that we're dealing with, and are really, really focused on community engagement with programs and our interaction with technology.
Perfect. And just to follow up on that, I know you mentioned body-worn cameras, which I worked hard to bring to the City of Miramar, and I'm so grateful that each of our officers who are on the road now have that body-worn camera, which protects not just themselves, but also, of course, the residents. And there's been a recent push now with federal funding, I believe, to have even our code officers with body-worn cameras, which will protect them as well as our residents out there. We mentioned about the Shot Spotter program, and hopefully we'll get a crime scene, real-time crime center,
yes.
which will be able to show us what goes on in real time at crime scenes.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that. And as far as our community engagement, again, the Community and Cops program, which I started with you in the city, has been able to get us to go out into plazas, talk to people and businesses to let them know what we're about. And I know you didn't mention the school resource officer program, but we were one of the first cities in the county to ensure that all of our schools, to include our charter schools, have resource officers, and now it's commonplace.
And very, very proud of that. Between the school resource officers engaged together, our community resource officer, but that's our future leaders. And for us to interact early on in the middle school, elementary schools, and the high schools, and then see how they become future leaders in public safety has been a great win. So I'm glad we had that connectivity. Thank you for initiating that.
Yes, you're welcome. And over to our chief of fire, our fire chief. How do you plan, first of all, let me ask you the same question. What type of safety changes or enhancements can residents expect to see through your leadership? What plans do you have for them?
Well, one of the good thing is when I took over as fire chief, I'm taking over from the position of fire marshal. As fire marshal of this city, I've been the fire marshal for the city for the last 8 years. In those 8 years, we've done an incredible amount of work to try to make our city safe. Part of that work and part of the results granted me the designation of Fire Marshal of the Year in 2015 by the state of Florida in the city of Miramar. Actually, I think I was the only Fire Marshal of the Year that has been selected from the Tri-County area in the history of our fire service.
Very good.
So that was a great honor, not only to our city, but to myself as well. We've incorporated a lot of programs. And now, as fire chief, I have the opportunity now to even increase that a little further because I have a greater control over a larger number of people operationally. So now, one of the things that we're doing is we're putting committees together to basically strategize on what programs we can bring to the city, what things we can do to give our citizens, more information, more service, such as community paramedicine. We're looking at hazard mitigation prior to anything occurring. We're now preparing for the hurricane season. So one of the things that we're looking at is educating our community on how to prepare for that. And if we are unfortunate and we get hit by a storm, what to do after the fact. And one of the things that we're doing is we're getting prepared. We want to be ready in case anything happens. We can mitigate any of those issues quickly and then have our folks back and running and operating as quickly as possible.
And great, I know you mentioned some of the outreach programs, and just recently we had a great meeting with the Red Cross, who plan on partnering with us to make sure we can distribute smoke detectors. And we just certainly appreciate the community partnership, again, with the Red Cross, and I'm sure there's so much more that we can do together, and I'm there to support you all the way. And we're really pleased that you're going to get out in the community, which I'm sure you've done, but we're going to enhance those opportunities with our residents and our businesses. You mentioned about the upcoming hurricane season and what we should do to prepare. Is there any other fire tips perhaps you can give us, or any other tips you want to share?
Absolutely. Be prepared before anything happens. You know, a lot of times we wait to the last minute to do things. We wait to the last minute to get our food, and we wait to the last minute to prepare our homes or whatever. Let's be proactive a little bit earlier on, so that way, you know, if it hits or it doesn't hit, at least you don't have that run on services, or you don't, when you go to the stores, you don't have to wait and things run out and so forth. You're ready to go, and you're prepared, and you know, keep that in mind. Also, prepare yourselves. For example, if you need medication, make sure you have you know, a good amount of medication in case something happens. You know, you may not have that stream of being able to go out and get the medication. Sure. So have medication, especially for folks that have children that are, you know, you're taking care of, and they may be disabled or something. Be prepared. Have all that stuff way ahead of time to carry you over, not a couple of weeks, maybe carry you over a month or longer if you have the capability of doing that, because that's going to basically secure yourself from having to, you know, need anything from the outside. So that really helps.
Thank you so much for that. And in closing, couple of crime prevention tips for us. I know recently, even in my own neighborhood, we've always seen the ring that shows you everything that's going on. One of the things has been car burglaries. People checking your car doors and trying to go in and whatever they can grab and run. Any tips for us?
Absolutely. Lock your doors. Lock your doors. When you go home, lock your doors, please. And even a good tip as well is when you hit that little button for those later model vehicles, your side mirrors, they will come in. That's an automatic that vehicle is locked and secured. So right now we're overly emphasizing the informational campaign. That's our push right now, to so-called get that information out to all the homeowners association, attend as many meetings. Please don't hesitate to contact us. Go to our website. We went ahead and recently provided a community resource guide that provide all the resources, but more importantly, it ties into our property crimes. Commissioner, our number one concern right now is property crimes. The number one is our vehicle burglaries and thefts. Vehicle burglaries and thefts, kind of challenging to put enforcement resources for the thefts, but the vehicle burglaries, that is something where probably 80% of the vehicle burglaries are vehicles that are left open. Yeah. That ring, please, if you have it or something similar to have that, or not, add to your camera system at home, over your vehicles, in your garage and in your driveway. Great evidence for our investigators to go there, review it. We get the chance to see it and see a trend and a time frame. And sometimes it's the clothing, but where we're seeing sometimes between 12 o'clock and 4 a.m., the majority of these individuals, they're covered in clothing and everything else. But it's the trend that we have identified now that we are tracking. And we have identified 2 or 3 of the communities that we have increased our license plate readers. We have instituted there as well. That's picking up vehicles coming and going, as well as our message boards, consistently reminding you to lock your doors. Valuables, I'm not going to say just the ladies, so the men also have laptops that are out there. Please put those in your house, your home, put it away. If it appears to be something of value and they look through there, even a pair of glasses or an eye case of a high-marked brand, that's what they're going to try to do. And the majority of the time, it's not breaking the door, the window, it's not prying in. It's just checking the doors, and that's what we see. They open it and they take what's there available. and they normally would just pack and then they would run it in a short time frame. So that can really help us reduce our crime, but also really minimize these type of vehicle burglaries. It's a true inconvenience for somebody to go and experience something like that. When you go home, you work hard, and then you wake up in the morning and you see something of value to that's been taken. So
absolutely.
I ask the community, please help us on that.
Absolutely, and it's been great. Thank you so much, both of you, chiefs,
Thank you for having
in
us.
our community. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for visiting with me on Commission Corner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
As you can see, folks, the City of Miramar is the place to be. So until next time, this is Commissioner Alexandra P. Davis. As always, putting you first keeps us first.